NFL draft storylines. The interior defensive line class may not be flashy, full of sack artists, but it is powerful and effective and highly underrated.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, KC Sanchez. He is the director of scouting with the Draft Network and national champion with the 2019 LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers, and thank you for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network in America. Guys, we got to talk about NFL draft storylines. We got perfect pairings. And of course, we got to give some prospects to the coaches and tell them it's your job to get them where their skill set can take them. But before we get into all of that, today's episode, Crossover Thursday, is presented by PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. NFL draft storylines, Keith. I think one of the things that has stood out to me as I get more and more into the film and looking at this class, the interior defensive line group is severely underrated to me. Like, I feel like people aren't talking about this class, and I think I know why it's not getting a lot of the fanfare and narratives buzzing and stuff like that. This isn't the flashy pass rush sack group that we've seen over the years. Right, this is more of a big physical punch you in the mouth. We set in the line of scrimmage. You're not running on this type of interior defensive line. Of course, Peter Woods at the top end, right? Because the thing is, when you look at their just raw numbers, like none of these guys' numbers stand out in terms of sacks and the gaudy numbers that people always look at in the box score. But looking at these guys from Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, Cade McDonald at Ohio State. Ohio State has some guys in their defensive line that people don't know about, but they're absolute ballers. Him, Kenyatta Jackson, stuff like that. Christian Miller is probably one of my favorites for Georgia on the interior of their defensive line. Mm-hmm. For the way we've seen the NFL, I forgot to even mention two dudes. Well, three actually. Big Citrus, Dominic Orange, our guy. Amari Washington, over at Oregon, and then Barrett Alexander at Oregon. And I'm telling you right now, guys, if you have not watched Amari Washington, please do so. He's at 6'3", 338 pounds. For a guy that size, he's quick twitch. He's explosive off the ball. And then, of course, he has that unbridled power and strength and everything. Keith, I just think the way the NFL has trended over the last 5 to 7 years, where defenses say we want to live in too high, you can't live in too high without guys like this on the interior defensive line. With these big 300-pound dudes that can stop the run. You need guys like this. I know it's not a flashy group, but it's underrated. These dudes can play, and like Amari Washington has more pass rush upside than his body type would make you to believe. I just think there's a lot of talent and like just flexibility what these guys will bring and allow you to do different things in your defensive fronts.
I'm gonna respond with a question, DP. Just to kind of, I guess, your storyline to kind of dive into it just a little bit more, right? With Peter Woods and having evaluated most of the interior defensive line class, right? Because there's always guys that pop up. I want to ask you, do you think he's going to go the distance as IDL 1 as far as being the first defensive tackle taken off the board, or is there somebody that could challenge that?
I think he does go the distance because he's the guy, you really look at this group. Like, I forgot to even get the Monte Capehart, his teammate Lee Hunter at Texas Tech. He's got the skill set to be that complete guy. Like we've talked about probably since he was a freshman. You know what I mean? Like that ability to stop the run, which he's still doing. He's doing a great job of two-gapping, even though to me he's playing out of position. And I keep going back to it, like Walter Nolan, playing out of position. You're asked to two-gap and handle these things that you won't have to do in the NFL, which limits your pass rush productivity. I think once he gets into a system that allows him to play 3-tech, I think he's listed as 310 Yeah, 6'3", 310. Maybe he gets to the league, or like I said, maybe he goes to the Senior Bowl, whatever. He drops down to 300 pounds, but keeps that strength, the anchor ability, stuff like that. He's playing 3-tech, and now he's moving even quicker, and he's just really worked on his pass rush. He's the guy that has that upside to do that. While a lot of these other guys, you are going to use them more as, gap specialists, gap integrity, two gapping, forcing offense, like holding up gaps so that your linebackers can stay clean and stay free. A lot of these other guys are going to be playing more nose tackle and some shade and one. While to me, he has the highest ceiling and upside from these defensive tackles.
Yeah, and in the Walter Nolan comp, right? We're starting to see this be a continuous thing that he's dominating, right? Like that first step quickness, getting into the backfield, things like that. He's making a tremendous impact overall. And we know the interior defensive line, period, are impact players now because they are the quickest way to the quarterback. They're right there, right? Every snap, if the quarterback gets on the center, I mean, they're probably 1 foot away from him. Right. So they start right there. DP, my NFL draft storyline is not so much about a position group, but a situation pertaining to a team. And I'm going to go the Tennessee Titans trading out of the number 1 overall pick in potential with them going the distance, right? And does another team, if we look at it, right, could the potential Arizona Cardinals be a situation where they want to trade all the way up to 1? And I'm just thinking about somebody trying to find the recipe that the Chicago Bears used a few years ago, right? When they traded they traded the number 1 overall pick to get Bryce Young, right? And then
Panthers,
yep. So I'm looking at that, DP, as far as the Tennessee Titans train out of that because they have Cam Ward, right? They're not moving off of Cam Ward no matter.
No.
I mean, good, bad, or indifferent. You just don't move off a guy that you drafted number 1 overall after 1 year. So there's teams. I don't know how the Saints feel, right? The Jets are another potential destination. The Las Vegas Raiders. Cleveland, I'll say for the second segment because I have something with that. And then I see the Arizona Cardinals. So I see a team trade, like I see the Titans trading out of that number 1 overall pick to try to get a king's ransom to build around this rest of the team for Cam Ward. And then it's a matter of what team trades up to number 1.
Yeah, no, I love that, Keith. And I love Arvell Reese, but I'm not standing at 1 to pick Arvell Reese. Like, I'm trying to trade out of that. I'm trying to get as many picks. The Tennessee Titans is you're going on the second year of being the worst team in the league. Like, their roster is absolutely jacked. It's just a lot of stuff they got to fix. They got to get more weapons. They got to find a traditional, like a real run game. You know what I mean? Like, they got some things they got to fix on this roster. So yeah, staying put and adding a superior talent like an Arvell Reese at 1. It's not that it will be a bad move. It's the fact of, man, if I trade down and I go get me multiple picks, right? You look at the Jets. I think, was it 2027? The Jets have 3 first-round picks. Talk about how you help a rebuild, draft capital.
Right there. Yep.
If I'm the Titans, I'm trying to get something like that. I'm trying to see if is there anybody with 2 draft picks calling the Jets. Hey, you got 2 picks in this class. You want to move up and get your quarterback? You know what I mean? Like, I want to try and see who I can like bait into trading with me. But Keith, I like the fact of the Cardinals, and it's very simple to me. You go up and you get this guy. Like, you go get the quarterback. Be aggressive. Like, be aggressive. You have your defense they have a good defense, and they play and they battle well, even though they're severely injured. Heck, I even think Walter Nolan got nicked up in the game Sunday, right? Like, they're dealing with injuries all over their defense, from Will Johnson, I think another corner. Like, what's the kid? Is it Burke?
Denzel Burke.
Denzel Burke has been starting. You know what I mean? He's been starting, and I don't think that was part of the plan when they drafted them, like 5th round, whatever it was, not out the gate. So for me, I was like, hey, you think about Fernando Mendoza, like breaking the huddle with Trey McBride, Marvin Harrison Jr., right? The running backs that they have when they're healthy. Like that ability to push the ball down the back shoulder fade, something that Kyler does not throw well. He throws the go ball. Like, if you get separation, he'll launch it deep. But the back shoulder fade has not been his thing. That's one of the special powers of Fernando Mendoza. Ask Elijah Surratt. Like, they have that great connection. I think, if kid, I know you to think about that, but I love that. If you're the Arizona Cardinals, throw all caution to the wind. Trade up and go get your quarterback. Because if the rumors are true, you're already looking at moving on from Kyler Murray in the offseason. So why not get aggressive and go get your dude?
Yep, I agree with DP. Let's do this, man. Let's move on. And we're talking a whole lot of NFL draft talk on today's episode. Next up, man, we have perfect pairings. We're going to pick the prospects. We're going to pick the NFL team. And we're going to tell you why this is a mutually beneficial situation with these prospects and NFL teams. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
Brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride that hot hand into the fourth quarter, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game that more exciting, especially when your team's making that late game push, that late fourth quarter push to victory. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 back in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Perfect prospect pairings. Keith, I got a fun one, man. I think you'll like this one. I'm going to the AFC East. It's time to add a playmaker to an offense that's struggling with playmakers right now. And that's the Buffalo Bills. And I'll be honest with you, Keith, 2 straight healthy scratches of Keon Coleman. You got Deion Dawkins coming to the media saying, yeah, I've been, keeping his head up, telling him to lock in, or, paraphrasing, of course. It doesn't seem like this is a, what you said, mutually beneficial relationship, Keith. I would not be surprised if somebody calls the Buffalo Bills after the season when the new league year starts and say, what do you want for Keon Coleman? Because I don't feel like he fits the ideology of what this offense is looking for. So if that's the case, and even if you do keep him, I say you got pick 21 right now at the draft for today. KC Concepcion to the Buffalo Bills. 5'11", 190-pound, route running, separation, verticality, yards after catch. He can do everything, basically. He can line up in the slot if you need to move Khalil Shakir around a little bit, or if he needs a breather, he could walk him down into the slot. But similar to a Stephon Diggs, and I'm not, Bills Nation, NFL fan, I'm not calling KC Concepcion Stephon Diggs. But what I'm saying is the way Stephon Diggs could play every single receiver spot when he was in Buffalo, he may not be able to do it to the same extent now that he's a little bit older, not in New England, and he's more of that route running savant, get to his spots, stuff like that. But when he was in Buffalo, he played the X, the Z, the slot, motion, bunch, stack. He did everything. KC Concepcion can do those same things, but also you can get him the manufactured touches, the jet sweeps, the bubble screens, the orbit motion, the orbit return motion into the bubble screen. You could do different things with him for those easy completions for Josh Allen. Think about it. What they played the Houston Texans. What was that last Thursday? When did they play Houston?
Yeah. That was Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, Thursday Night Football. And like the Texans teed off on Josh Allen, right? And then nobody's getting open and everything. I'm like, this doesn't look good. Josh is forcing it. He's putting the ball in harm's way. He looks rattled in the sense because it's like nobody's getting open and my offensive line is getting whooped, right? Like, so you get a guy like a KC Concepcion who, if you do send pressure and he gets it to him in the flats, you better have somebody out there or it's going to be an explosive play. And that ability to take the top off the defense, for me, I think I got him as a first-round grade. I said I got 4 receivers: Jordan Tyson, Cardinal Tate, KC, and Mekhi Lemon. I got those guys as first-round wide receivers for me. I think KC Concepcion to the Buffalo Bills would be the icing on the cake or the missing piece that this offense needs to elevate back into being like they don't look like themselves right now, Keith. They don't look like the same Buffalo Bills team we've seen over the years. I think KC Concepcion will be a lot of fun because he gives them a complete receiving skill set to pair along with Josh Allen.
Yeah, DP. I mean, in the Buffalo Bills, right, their warts were on full display in their primetime matchup against the Houston Texans, right? And this was they lost a Houston Texans team with a backup quarterback, right? That they had to find a way to manufacture points, and they lost because they got dominated defensively by the best defense in the league, which I would probably say is probably the best secondary in the league when you look at the draft capital put towards those guys. So I agree with you. I just think it's going to be interesting what the Buffalo Bills do, because I think they're in position where they need to be aggressive too. The New England Patriots, past they're on your heels, they're leading now, right? I guess on your heels or the toes, right? Like they're kind of ahead, however you want to describe this. They were ahead of you. And that window that you had where the AFC East was really bad, that window is shut, right? But you have a window to always compete as long as you have Josh Allen. But what you don't want to do is, and I said this years ago when I first got with the Draft Network, DP, if we believe that history repeats itself, right? That means that somebody, if we talk about eras, right? Somebody will be Peyton Manning, right? Where they'll have a lot of stats and they'll walk away with, one or two Super Bowls, but they'll be an all-time great, right? Somebody will be Tom Brady, right? We feel like that Tom Brady is Patrick Mahomes. Somebody will be Eli Manning, where they back into a couple Super Bowls, right? Maybe people want to say that that's Jalen Hurts or somebody at this situation. But what you don't want to be is somebody will be Phillip Rivers, who has a lot of stats, who will be really competitive, right? In a lot of games, it'll be a lot of fun, but you walk away with a goose egg as far as Super Bowls are concerned. So that's what you kind of want to prevent, and that's why you have to take pages out of the playbooks of, you see some of these quarterbacks and how aggressive the front offices were. When we go back to the Tom Brady with the Tampa Bay Bucks, right? We forget, man, Tom Brady pounded the table to sign Antonio Brown. He brought Robert Gronkowski back. He went and got Leonard Fournette. That team already had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, right? Like that was a loaded football team when you really think about it. That was probably 4 or 5 Hall of Famers, however you feel about Antonio Brown, right? Like that was 4 or 5 Hall of Famers on that football team. Probably 3 just in the wide receiver room. So you look at that, then you look at the Los Angeles Rams, right? A few years ago, and how they doubled down when they got Odell Beckham, right? Cooper Kupp. Then they went and signed what it was Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. I believe they got one other big time star too, but they were aggressive. Stafford. Yep. They were aggressive in their approach and what they built. So I look at it like that, DP, and I say I'm with you on the Buffalo Bills. Like, go get a first round wide receiver, and then from the perspective of trying to win, go get another wide receiver, right? like double and triple down.
Go get the guy that you need. Like, don't just draft. Like, I feel like they drafted Keon Coleman without a plan, Keith. Like, is it at the worst, you could have played him as a power slot, but you got Khalil Shakir, you got Dalton Kincaid, who both work out of the slot. So it's like, well, dang, like, what do we do now? So yeah, you get a KC Concepcion who could play on the outside, play everywhere, but he's really shown at Texas A&M, I can win on the outside. Like, I can win consistently versus press, zone, off, doesn't matter. I can win. And I think Josh Allen I think it wouldn't take long for that young man to be the best receiving option on that team, given the opportunity.
Yeah, and because I think it's interesting, and this is what the Buffalo Bills have to ask themselves from a schematic perspective, right? What do we want in wide receivers, right? Because Keon Coleman has always been a 50-50 ball guy, right? A power guy. And if that's not what Josh Allen is comfortable doing, or that's not what the offense is schemed around, then maybe we shouldn't lean that way, right? But then you have Khalil Shakir, who's extremely successful because he's a separator, right? He's a put him in the slot, put him on the outside a little bit. He is your prototype Z wide receiver, right? If you had to draw up a Z wide receiver, that's him, right? A good number 2. But I think it's obvious now they need a guy that can go physically dominate on the outside and a guy that they feel comfortable within their offense. So they definitely have to do some soul searching this year, because the way they're trending, it seems like they took a step backwards, and it appears because of the wide receiver and playmaker room. But DP, let's do this, man. Grab your hat, grab your whistle. Coming up next, we have a coach 'em up segment, right? We're going to pick the prospects. We're going to hand them to the coaches and tell them, coach this guy up. We have nothing but faith that this guy's going to turn into a really good prospect. We talk about that coming up next.
Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot, for being our everydayers. And thank you for being part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the #1 sports podcast network in America, all because of you. Keith, you said you had something for the Browns. We talked about, we're going to do coach him up in a second, guys. But I want Keith to talk about his perfect pairing for the Browns, right? The Browns, Shedeur Sanders got his first win on Sunday, and the offense looked a little bit better and everything, even though Kevin Stefanski didn't want to give him any credit for it. But here we are. Keith, what is your perfect pairing for the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, so with the Cleveland Browns, I see this in the first round, right? And in your first few picks, you have quite a few picks. I think they have 10 in this draft. And make sure I'm speaking correctly. Yeah, I say with 2 of your first 3 picks, make them wide receivers. Go get the wide receivers, right? Like you pick at number, is it number 8, DP? The first pick.
Tankathon has them at right now. Tankathon has them at 6, and then Jacksonville's pick is at 22.
Yeah, pick number 6, man. If you believe Jordan Tyson or Cornell Tate is the best wide receiver, go get him. Go get him. And it's because I watched. Obviously, you watch it with Dylan Gabriel. You watch this offense with Joe Flacco, right? And then you watch them with Shedeur Sanders. It's evident at this point that they just need more playmakers, right?
Yes.
Jerry Jeudy is good in his role, but I think if I'm trying to take a young quarterback and give him that next step, right? As far as, hey, these are your guys that you can get away with some stuff, right? These are your 50-50 ball guys. This is a guy that you can just say, you know what, you down there somewhere type of situation. I think that I'll say Shedeur Sanders, and I'll even throw Dylan Gabriel in that bucket of they've shown that they're good enough to be able to operate something, right? And I think what you may want to do is you can draft a quarterback, right? You have the opportunity, you can draft a quarterback sitting at number 6. But you can spend all your draft capital to go get a quarterback, right? And then still have to fill out this wide receiver room because that young quarterback still won't get the same look. Or you can go ahead and put all the playmakers necessary around. And then next year, if Shedeur Sanders or you want to throw Dylan Gabriel in there, if they don't show that they can competently run this offense, then you still have a filled out roster to just insert quarterback, right? And so I look at it like that. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, man, like perfect pairings. Cleveland Browns double down on the wide receivers, right? Go get you 2 guys that you like. And this is such a deep wide receiver class. What I'm saying is that it's not just one big-bodied wide receiver, right? You have the Chris Bells, you have the Malachi Fields. Obviously, you have Jordan Tyson. Cornell Tate is a big body. You can go down the list, and you mentioned guys like KC Concepcion. We have why am I blanking on the Auburn? Eric Singleton, the wide receiver from Auburn. Yeah, like you have a mixed bag of things.
Ton of receivers, man.
Yeah, a ton of wide receivers, Zachariah Branch, right? There's so many of these guys that you can throw into the mix. So he said, you know what? I'm going to give my young quarterback, whoever that young quarterback is, the best opportunity to be successful. So I looked at that and I'm like, man, y'all got 2 in the first round. It was evident watching this past week, like y'all need separators, right? Y'all need some dudes. And Cedric Tillman has been good. But I always, and I don't know why I do this, I always compare Cedric Tillman and Nico Collins together. I have no idea why. I have no idea. But Nico has been the guy that has turned the page, right? Like the guy that has been the next step, man. Go get you a big power guy to play X. Go get you another playmaker, and you can keep Jerry Jeudy in the mix, right? But having him
living the slot. I'm living the slot.
Yeah, having him as the potential have to operate as the number 1 is not the answer. And then you already have a good running back in Quinshon Judkins who shows some really good things. The backup, Dylan Sampson. So I say go get some wide receivers, man, and give these young quarterbacks opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, especially like you said, at 6, you want to go with one of the top 2 guys. You get Jordan Tyson or Cornell Tate. You got 22. I mean, I think because another thing that they had to fix is kind of that offensive line issue. You go best offensive lineman on the board. And you look at the offense, you're like, okay, we got a potential rookie wide receiver 1 and Jordan Tyson or Cornell Tate. We have, like you said, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman. To me, I think I would not be this. You could keep them both, but I would see if I could add some more draft capital. I would ship off David Njoku because to me, it looks like that room is going to. You need to start getting Harold Fanning more and more involved. He needs to be more and more involved in the passing offense. This young man can play, and he gets open. He's athletic, and he's really physical after the catch as well. Like, I think you could probably get a 3rd round pick for David Njoku and trade him to a contending team that needs to upgrade that spot. So I think, yeah, you do that. And like I said, you go offensive line, and day 2, if a Denzel Boston is on the board, you know what I mean, a big body wide receiver.
That's my guy.
Denzel Boston. Elijah Surratt, Keith, like you said, Chris Bell, a Jacoby Lane. Like you could, if you walk, you walk out of the draft the first 3 rounds and you get a Jacoby Lane and Jordan Tyson, and you're like, man, because at the end of the day, we always talk about it. Build your team to be ready for the quarterback. Don't draft your quarterback. We've seen it with Cam Ward. Now he's showing the flashes as of late, but it's like you got to do a lot of Herculean things to just make standard plays in Tennessee because they're such a bad team. But he's showing some flashes. I don't want to live off the flashes. Let's get the team ready for you whenever we put you in place. Or if you already have the you in place at quarterback, let's build around them and see what we can do. So I like that a lot, Keith. I'm gonna close this thing out with the coach him up prospect, Keith. And for me, I thought about, all these different positions, and I went right to quarterback. And it's going to be out of sight, out of mind for quite some time because he got hurt. And that was Drew Allar, Keith. Like, I'm going to tell you what
in the treasure chest, DP. You went
deep, man. I went deep because nobody's talking about Drew Allar no more since he's been out. I say, for me, Keith, I say this. When it comes down to Drew Allar, I think my comp for him was Daniel Jones with Joe Flacco's arm, with like great arm, with a legit arm, because Daniel Jones doesn't have a great arm. He has a good arm, it's solid, but like there's certain throws you don't want Daniel Jones making physically. Joe Flacco could make every single throw. Drew Allar could make every single throw. But what we've seen from Daniel Jones is what I think you need to do early on in Drew Allar's career. Give him a strong run game. Have him, with the offense, scheme them up. Hey, back foot hit, get the ball out. Teach him to be that quick processor in terms of reading, understanding what the first read is, getting the ball to that first read, being the point guard. You have all the other tools to be more than that, but we'll develop you into that over time. Hopefully we have a 10-12 career with you here at the same team, same coaching staff, and same offense. But to get you there, you need to learn how to do this. So like handing the ball off. The Colts offense has been one of the best in the league for most of the season. Now, the last 3 or 4 games, teams have geared up to slow down JT and say, Daniel Jones beat us. And he's not been able to do that consistently. Well, that process or that model, I want for Drew Allar, where you have a great run game. We hand the ball off. We get play action. We get some RPO stuff. Again, hitting the quick stuff, letting the playmakers make the plays for you. And then as you continue, as the game slows down, because every time I watch him, Keith, the one thing that I keep coming back to, I feel like his brain is running 100 miles an hour when he's dropping back. And I'm like, we got to get the game to slow down for you, big dog. Like you be pressing, you're doing too much. We got to get you to slow down and just take a breath. And I think having a strong run game does that. And so I look at what the Colts are doing with Daniel Jones. That's the type of offensive structure I want to put Drew Allar in, not exactly with the Colts, but with another team. Like, let's run the ball, play good defense. We got playmakers. Teach him to just be a point guard. Let the playmakers make the plays. And then as the game slows down, you mature in your game. You develop, and those tools start to shine more because he has all the skill set, all the physical tools. At the end of the day, Keith, it's like I put into this. You could buy somebody a really nice toolbox for Christmas. If they don't know how to use what's inside that toolbox, it does not matter, right? Like, I could get you a chainsaw. What do you don't know how to cut. Like, you don't know what to do. You know what I mean? I could get you a sander, but you don't know how to sand wood. It doesn't matter what you have if you don't know how to use it. That's my issue with Drew Allar. I don't think he fully knows how to use his skill set that fits well. Let's teach him that as a coach.
Yeah, and for him, it's definitely going to be a situation, right? Like a place, right? Where he can probably sit down a year or two, because for me, it's all about what you said. The reason that I've always had trepidation in Drew Allar has always been his approach, right? And it's his mental approach. Like, you can almost sometimes, and I always do this, right? Whether it's, and this is the reason why the TV copy of film could be valuable, is because the different camera angles. When you're able to look in the player's eyes, right? When they go to the bench and you're looking at their body posture and language, you can tell, be like, this guy's kind of scared. he doesn't want this moment. And I think, was it the Penn State and Oregon situation? And I made that comp. I said it was totally different from Dante Moore and how he felt going into the final minutes of that game versus Drew Allar and how it looked as though he felt going into that game. So yeah, I definitely agree. Finding some situation where you can take some of the onus off of him and he just has to operate the offense. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying, shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all gonna talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we got to preview the action in week 14, the final full regular season slate before we get to the championship games the following weekend of college football. We're going to tell you about those prospects to watch and why Ty Simpson is a statement maker versus Auburn. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.